must be divine classics day here on this Wowzer Wednesday. Ooh, a fat old Wowzer Wednesday, ain't it? Man, we got some classic rock going on. Ooh, and some real classic talk. The radiance of love coming into being because you are finding out, yeah, you're a lean, mean dancing machine after all. A very product of the rainbow love, the energy of life through which we step in to our own personal, well, call it paradisical reality. It's different for each one of us, but it's the same for all of us, baby, because we're all in the same flight. The whole of humanity on this day, this moment, do unite in the singular presence of rock and love. Looks like the sun above, looks like the earth below, looks like everything living in it getting this glow on, man. And wanting to get on with the good medicine in this flow, man. Have a good time with it, in other words, you know. Enough of this chicken shit pissing on the borders and stuff like that. Enough. Just take it easy, guys. Listen to the rock. Listen to the rope. Listen to the rhythm, the harmony of your heart. Your ever-loving, living soul, man, and move with it. Don't restrict it, man. Go with the flow. Don't make with the restrictive waves, man, don't you know? That's Donald Sutherland from long ago. I'm not near as good as Robin Williams, I know. Poor imitation. But I'm just a grandpa, so I can get away with it. Nah. I love them. If you guys haven't seen that one little black and white video I posted over there on my personal page, I'll see if I can't put it on the Medicine Show page too, etc. Once the show's rocking anyway. Anyway, wow, bunch of old folks, man, rocking down, talking about my generation, and busting up the guitars at the, oh, it just broke my heart, but busting up the guitars at the end of the show. Classics, each and every one of them, don't you know? Now, I know that was just a portrayal, but God, what a portrayal. Well, see, we can look at ourselves now in our own lives. And babies, we're entitled to smash them damn guitars or set them on fire or do whatever we want to do. At the conclusion of our performance before that, we better respect those things, man. Take them in flight with us, you know. But if they become something that weights you down, well, the music's in your heart and soul. That's the strings you really play, don't you know? And that's where the resonance comes from. It gets into the guitar that makes the music sound so strong. Especially with a little bit of amplification. Angelically given now and how. Don't need the big boomers anymore. We got the big boomers inside. You'll find the voice of love. I call it the song of the heart. It's the voice of love. It's deep. It comes from way down inside of the center part of yourself. Clear down into your groin, you feel it. It's like it originates there and comes up through it, man. It comes out through your heart, through your, I mean, it's just your heart coming into motion. It deepens. It's a powerful, steady, tonal voice. But it speaks with resonance, you know, and poetry and symmetry, because symmetry forms around it as it speaks, you know. It's the golden glow of the rainbow speaking itself into being. It's a song of the heart in which we all live. And people, I know you didn't believe it when it first started happening, did you? Very gates of paradise are rock and roll, of course. It's the music, the primal music of our creative heart and soul. You know, it's the gritty rainbow side of life that makes it real when the liquid takes form and gets on it with a little bit of zeal, babies. Now we know how to live it real, man. You know, our imaginative power is beyond incredible. Each and every one of you are given the gift of a purposeful creation, an ability to be as you'll have it. Not want it or hope or wish it into being, no. As you'll have it be, as you allow it to be. By allowing it to be what it has been, be what it is now. See? It ain't then, it's now and how, but all moments live here and they all contributed to it. Else we wouldn't do it. Let me tell you that, babies. We ain't time wasters, even though we do like to lollygag. Oh, and fart around with each other in a great sort of way. And there ain't nothing wrong with that, man. I'm a high advocate of association in the relation of the hearts in life, babies. It should be real like that. You know, you don't have to do this activity all the time. A time for plenty and a time for not so much, man. But ooh, when the time's just right, it only has to be once anyway, you know. And And it's forever, because that moment's in you already. See, you don't have to wait for the presence of another to complete the person that you are. You are the presence of the other. You merely recognize that. And you see the divine inside of you, because you can see it there. You can sure see it in yourself, baby. It's a reflection of you. And that reality is true, and it's good for each and every one of us, babies. And it's coming back on you just that way. It's the magic in life. It's the rhythmic harmony of life. Again, the song of the heart, but it's misunderstood in its presentation. It's what creation is. It's the living song of creation. The harmony we all live in, that is the song of the heart. That's what makes us all a heart in motion. We're a product of that song. And the song singing itself through us too, baby. I mean, just, wow. How much more cool can it be? I mean, you know, wow. Talk about dancing naked in your own reality and not being threatened by it anymore. But finding it the lovingest place you could ever imagine it to be, because that's the way you always wanted it to be, so that's the way it is, don't you see? So you can have it the way you want it. When you live in it, when you make it real by allowing it to be, man. See, that is your truth, simple. That's what the childlike love inside desires for you, and not just you, but for everyone. That's the only way it'll be for you. If there's one person left unpeaceful in this reality, we feel it. We're that much in tune with the harmony. That's what a harmony is, and it's expressed in feeling. The emotion. Feeling. But it's physical. It resonates in the physical. That's why we created it. To feel it. In our bones. Remember the old saying? In our heart. Feel that all the time, don't we? Expansive growth. Explosive growth. Because we're finding out what love is and what's real about it. It's not just some la-di-da-di Romeo and Juliet, as much as I love the poetry of that beautiful and powerful story and respect it greatly. And those who have acted in it too, especially Olivia Hussey. Anyway, Juliet, oh God. I'm still a week old fart, aren't I, man? I always will be, man. The divine angels of love, you deserve my divine respect each and every moment and each and every breath, and each and every moment that you live, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, that you live, and every breath that you take. Yes, you do. See how it calms me down just to think about you, slows me down a bit. So now you can keep up with me, or I won't outrun you, you know. I tend to do that when I'm really in that flow. There's a rhythm to it, and it's a little faster than the rhythm of this pace here, you know. And so I have to integrate. You know, it's just working out the waffles between the harmonies there in that one little, between the two dimensions, kind of as I see it. But that's just me looking at it from the human side. On the other side, well, it's just little ripple in the stream, baby, man. Just flow with it. There it is. You see, it's all okay, man. It just all smooths itself out there in a little bit. And we just keep on going with the flow. Where is that thing? Charlie Rich, he's drunk. He's absent at the moment. I think he's on a gig in Germany right now. Yeah, big crowd for Charlie Rich over there. So we'll get him on here as soon as we can, man. You know, we are the angels of love, and the gift of paradise lives in our hearts, so Charlie Rich can't resist. If we call him forward, I think it's not quite his time just yet. We'll have to ripen into that going with the flow thing. I mean, it is country, you know, and it is a little corny, but God, it's so cool. And so rhythmic, too, you know. Divine harmony exists in everything. You don't want to be too definitive in your prejudices, you know. You can be arrogant only about squirrels and caterpillars and shit, not about butterflies and love, okay? Give it in that coyote way. I learned to speak it that way quite some time ago. And it took me a long time to get the real smart-assy edge off of it so that it wouldn't be so sarcastically received, you know. And I had to do a little more jocular now because I let the kid out, see? He softened me up, man, that little shit. He's pretty wild and woolly when you just set him free, you know. And we had such a restricted beginning. You've heard some of the horror stories, but they're not horror at all. They're something we went through. You know, I wouldn't even call them the truth. That's just an experience. Everything's truth if you live it. You know, that's it. But you live now in different levels of understanding, the same moments of love. There's power in that, babies. See, that's what I mean about the blossom and flower, is just come and understand the true levels at which this life is served, and understand your own meaning in it. That you are a fulfillment of the divine purpose, you know, very primal energy that rises up from the organic side of Earth through her oceanic love, encouraged into it by the formative sunlight. See, that's a union of life. That's what gives us form and matter and material. But we can de-densify it by quite a bit, by letting go of the unreality of what has been. It's an experience, and it hurts, yes. Hasn't been only a little bit of pleasantry compared to the unreality of it, right? But those sweet moments were enough to get us by and get us through, man. They're huge waves. It started building in a presence quite some time ago, and bear their presence now as a unified wave. So instead of smoothing out on the water, this one just got bigger and bigger, gathered more wave to it until it's just one big huge wave. Let's call it the nuclear explosion, the tsunami of love, you know, the subatomic heart revealing the truth of its own love, the wealth of its own reality. And, you know, in a cosmic sense, all of this science has been going on in the background in a skullduggerous sort of way, has contributed to these moments because they've allowed elements to come in that otherwise wouldn't have been present before. And they thought they were doing something immaterial, and, well, anyway. It's a long story. We'll get into that sometime, as the whole presence of it's here with us. And we'll just talk about the whole thing as time goes on here, just like we do each and every day. Another little element comes our way, and we start to say, wow, so that is my reality. We start to allow ourselves to see it, in other words. You know, because if you can allow it to feel, then you can, with your heart it takes to seal. It's the same thing if you feel it. Again, that's the creative purpose of humanity. The anchor, the root of feeling. And see, that through this feeling, the deepening of which brings forward all of creation. And when I say deepening, what do I mean? The realization of the mother energy in it all. That resonates from the earthy side through the waters and the sunlight. The vibrational harmony that forms life and gives it resonance and feeling and colorful presence and ways to dance and move in motion that are just, wow, incredible, beyond description experiences that not everyone in this reality has been able to participate in just yet. Yet, as we do, everyone else does it too. It's just kind of how the unified nature of life is. But just like there's a few among us that are the rising, angels, the rising angels. But that creates the energy that rises all the angels. See, so it's the angels rising up the angels, just like the rock stars rise up the audience rise up the rock star. It's a mutual thing. The presence of a personal being in all those numbers of people, a great equity, in other words, an experience in what? Divine presence, divine harmony, unified love, given in that harmony, the movement of a singular motion that gets everybody moving like a wave on the ocean. There's your wave of love. Again, breaking through. We've been having all kinds of incredible breakthroughs going on here for years now. And everybody's attention's been diverted this way and that as these waves of love come flowing in. But there's been a few of us there present to experience some of them. Some people have been, some of these hippie kids travel, around, and it happens all the time for them because they're part of it. They're the divine angels of the opening, man. And that's what they're doing, man. They're doing what they come here to do, rock in a cool reality. So the rest of us can just take a break and relax, and be regenerative for a while and appreciate the love bunny side of life. And let go of the harsher feelings we've held for each other, present company included, just let it be, man. Whatever is now, not then. Then is now, and now is then, in the sense that we let it go, babies. We bless it. We got to experience it. It's over. We don't have to feel that way anymore. We don't hold it against ourselves, then we won't hold it against each other, and we'll just let it go, whatever it is. That's what it is to be the rock in the roll. The heart in the soul. That's an active presence in the life. And more than that, it is the presence in the life. And there the dude stands in the middle of the night. The news is just right. The big girl's gone down, and along with it, all the hopes of humanity for hundreds of years to come, man. The dude had won. His empire was secure now. Everything would turn out just all right. The slaves would submit voluntarily, or at least it would seem to be that way. 'Cause there's no more hope for humanity. He'd sunk that son of a gun, and sunk him rightly so. Man, if he'd have been a skunk, he'd have sprayed him on the way down, don't you know? That's how bad he felt about that flow. Didn't want it here no mo', man. Whew. Funky way to get rid of your enemy, eh? But what the hell, that's the way we play, you know. It's a big game, man. Chessboard of life, you gotta be strategic, man, and you gotta be cunning as the fox and mean as the wolf and more fiery than the alligator, man. You know, you gotta be a regular old lizard skin, and by golly, he was, man. He just felt that so graciously. Kind of tickled, really, to have all them scales on your back, man. You know, I mean, in a metaphorical sense, yet he could feel them like they were real, even though he still appeared to be a human being. Wow. He'd be the king of his own empire now, and he'd have his vessels, man. His vessels of love, oh, the satire. His vessels of love that would rule over the people for him and take good care of all the naughtiness that had to go on here, you know, just to shake him up and bake him up and get him just right, you know. And fires of hell only burn when they're stoked up good, you know, and so really there was a whole bunch more skullduggery to go, but as he looked out on his empire from his mighty little penthouse suite there in the skyscraper of love, he began to chuckle, but he also began to moan right below the chuckle. As in his heart he knew what he'd done. He'd crashed the rising sun right into the ocean, and it would never rise again, man. It was over with. And he was the one. But somehow it all come undone. Somehow it just didn't rock quite right. Didn't feel good enough. Had to be a whole lot more. Had to do something really mean to even the score. This just wasn't, I mean, virtuous enough. It just wasn't honorable enough. Not big enough. I mean, people wouldn't even know. I mean, he sunk their hopes to the bottom of the ocean and nobody would even know. You know, I mean, not forever. Shit. It was just ashes in his hands now, man. And they were dirty, and it made him feel dirty, you know. I wanted to get them ashes off of his hand. What do you do, man? You just can't seem to win, man. He says with a grin. You know, and the satire of life comes falling through the wall and says, hey, you're doing just fine, dude. Don't fall. I mean, you know, just hang on. A heavy heart's part of the game, man. You can't help it. It goes with the turf. That's why you got a scaly skin. You don't have to feel it, man. Just relax, you know. Smoke one of them there, you know, virginal cigars from Cuba. You know, have a little glass of champagne or a little Cabernet or something, man. Just relax, you know. Take a load off your toes there, man. Don't smoke no marijuana. You know what that'll do to you. God, you'll melt like the Wicked Witch, man. And we're just when our gig's getting good, you know. But, ooh, wow. And hell, yeah, I wish these other sons of bitches, though, would catch up to us, man. Catch on to us. Why do they let us get away with it all the time? They're not stupid. I know they ain't. They're just indulging us, man. And the dude looks at his mentor and says, you know, you're right, man. They're just letting us do it, aren't they? Wow. Tormentors, man. Tormentors. That's what we've become. Tormentors. You know, shit, that's evil, man. We don't want to do that. The other one chuckles and says, yeah, well, That's what we're in the game for, man. That's what we get paid to be, you know. We're actors, don't you know? We're good ones, too. Lee Van Cleef, man, who's the creation of my future here in just a little while, would be very proud of us now, I tell you, man. It's our pinnacle moment, baby. We scared the living daylights out of them, took all their hopes away, and they didn't even know it, man. Shit. Bunch of drunken alcoholic fools out there, man. Don't you let that Mary Jane ever get loose in this reality, man. You better pass a law against her right now, you know. Yeah, and how? And let's get Randolph Hearst behind it because it's a threat to his investment in the forest, right? Okay, we got it, man. Shit. We're just rocking, ain't we, man? We're such skullduggerous sons of bitches, you know. Don't worry, baby. It'll feel better after a while, man. Just, you know, hang in there, JP, man. It's just, you know, this is the way, man, of the evil ones, the great darkness, you know. We got to be the real boogeyman. We got to scare them right into their diapers again, man, you know, so they'll come back to life and get us out of this pit of shit we just dissolved ourselves into, eh? Old JP looks up, his eyes are rolling, cigar smoke are twirling about his head. Says, that'll be the day. Oh, goodness. While I was playing good old Donovan singing about the legend of Atlantis, oh, geez, oh, weezo, I was transported back to this place where just a few years ago, well, I guess it's, God, time flies. Well, let's say 15 years ago, when I first even got an inclination and a remembrance of what Atlantis might be, you know. I was up in the mountains and I was taken in this dreaming sort of way a little higher. And up over a ridge, and there was this gorgeous and spectacular city, empty, just sitting there, you know, on the other side of the mountain, kind of hanging in the atmosphere, but it was huge. It was like, I'd say, 3,000 miles wide and long and a couple of thousand miles wide, something like that anyway. It's big. And above this whole sprawling city, and there are buildings everywhere, you know, streets are sprawling. But it was like in nature, too. It wasn't like our crowded old Urbania here. This was like the houses seemed to grow out of the nature just like the plants and the flowers and the trees did, you know. I mean, it was real natural looking, you know. But it didn't have the living resonance of life. It had a few guardian souls there. To keep track of it and keep, you know, intruders out and shit like that. Because it was kind of in a state of preservation. It had been down at the bottom of the ocean for a long, long time, man. You know, long time. You could see a bit of its aging in the skin of the mothership Love that rested on a great big pedestal up over this city, man. I mean, there was light everywhere. It wasn't in the shadow of this thing. You know, light was created from it and passing through it, etc., you know. It's the mothership Love on which we arrived in the first place in this reality, and this symbolized in this city by this big old huge mothership hanging above it on a great big old pedestal. Hell, the pedestal must have been a few hundred miles wide. The thing that supported it right there in the middle of everything. It looks strangely a lot like the American continent of today, only much larger, you know, much more expansive. You know, what we call Turtle Island plus, you know. That's what it looked like, you know. And wow, and how. But like I said, relatively abandoned other than these few guardians. But it was a spectacular remembrance, man. You know, a vision of what was to be that our city. And this began a process, it took years, of revelation inside of me, of remembrance, you know. And then I started remembering later how I was a kid and they introduced the atomic bombs in schools on movies, you know, and to get us ready for what was happening all around us. Geez, we were being radiated like crazy over there in Utah by the winds bringing the dust of the bombs in Nevada over our heads and dropping it on us, man. It's funny we didn't all glow in the dark. Some of us did, I think. The people were dropping like flies out there, man. So they bring these movies to the school and show you what an atomic blast is, you know, and of its tremendous destructive capabilities and so forth. They were really kind of foolish back in those days. They really didn't know what they were messing with, but they had it. And there it was, man. And then there was a remembrance, you know, because when I saw that bomb going off in that movie, I knew I'd seen it before. And you know, years later, I was living in Oregon for a long number of years, and And I had a friend there that had been in one of the services and had experienced an accidental nuclear explosion that had been reversed in some kind of cosmic way. After the bomb had already gone off, all of a sudden time was reversed, and everybody was back to quote, quote, normal, except they were coughing up and choking up smoke and stuff for 2 or 3 days. Their lungs were singed. There, you know, it was weird circumstances to indicate that something really had happened, even though time reversed itself and it went away fast. And time just went right by it, you know. Well, he'd had an experience like that. They being there, and when that happened at this particular place, and wow, of course it was a military installation, of course, super guarded, super protected, because it's nuclear, you know, and they just wanted to keep the bombs away from everybody except themselves. Thank goodness. But anywho, that, and then when he was relaying that experience to me, again, as he described the disintegration of his person and, you know, departicleization of his soul presence for a bit too, and emerging that the destructive power mixed it into all the reality before him. Persons come flying into him, and he goes flying into all the rest of it as the blast goes off. You know, it's kind of a merging, a cosmic merging of energies in a momentary way. But wow, unleashing some incredible powers in this reality we really don't want to see. But the experience of it, again, was real familiar to me, you know, as he relayed that experience to me. And, you know, wow, it had kind of knocked him over the edge. I mean, I was helping him come back. He was helping me hang on. So we were in a place of mutual respect and helpfulness to each other. So we were willing to hear just about anything of anybody's story, man. And both of us had some pretty spectacular ones like that. You know, pretty wild, off-the-chart shit. Because we had lived challenging lives, you know. You'll find that if you're kind of a cosmic investigator, that, you know, if you were born with a dream in your heart and you could never let go of it, and you just stayed a hippie heart no matter what the culture around you did or how the trends were or anything, you're bound to have a lot of cosmic experience in this life that's a little beyond the normal frame of reference that people remember themselves living in. Because I tell you what, everybody has cosmic experience here. Everybody lives a little beyond this reality. Some are just a little more challenged by the life to see it, to be present in it, by the challenges in the life. You see, and so if you're a cosmic explorator, let's say, you're going to get a lot of that. But because of that, you're going to get a lot of magic right along with it. That's how you remember it. You know, so along with these cosmic memories of nuclear destruction and the seeing of this city having risen up off the bottom of the ocean after a long, long time down there, you know, I began to put like 2 and 2 together, and, you know, I had a memory of like this cosmic experience in this place. I'll call it Atlantis, because I think that's what it was, you know. And I was kind of, you know, a bit of a whiz in those days, but it was real different. We really were like gods. We were like living in these ivory towers, kind of, but they were pinnacles. They were like peaks of pyramidic, swaying pyramids with some style, baby. It wasn't just rigid lines. These had swaying lines. They had the feminine built into them, you know. These were awesome, and I was living in the top of one of those, right up there in the peak, you know, when the bombs went off, or at least the cosmic presence that I remember being there, through which I seen Atlantis and had a memory of it. See, now that may or may not have been my personal soul presence. I think it was, but it doesn't matter. You know, we all have the same experience. Even as I relay it, you can remember it as if you were there, see? It happens that way. We're unified in the experience, you see. And we were unified in that moment. See, we had gone a long ways with it back in those Atlantean days. This was after a whole bunch of shithole realities caved in on us previous to that time. So, you know, Atlantis is like, by my estimation, 26,000 years ago or something like that. It might be 260,000. The zeros confuse me, you know. So, but anyway, it's pretty close in terms of time. It's pretty close to where we are now. And in terms of, you know, what's really happening in this reality, pretty close to the same events. So a lot of people are having cosmic memories of the destruction of Atlantis. Because, see, we were living right at the pinnacle peak, just like I was as a person. at the pinnacle peak of this swooping pyramid, let's call it. God, it was so graceful. I love that place. Like the center of the universe, man. But we had harnessed our creativity, our capabilities in creation. We had learned to live from a heartfelt aspect. I don't think it was quite the full presence of it, but man, we were catching on, and catching on fast. About how we could sit in these little pinnacles, and there was like a dozen of them in a circle, and this is right at the center of town, more or less, you know, these buildings, that 12 of us sat in these pinnacles. And see, this is the memories I have now. I mean, we even remember more detail than I did then. And 12 of us sat on these pinnacles, and we created the energy of love from which creation arose. But this anomaly, you know, oh, we'd never quite dealt with that mother trucker. And just when we're right on the verge of remembering our true place in creation, when it's almost there, right at the center of this Atlantean dream, you know, a city of such spectacular nature, you can't even imagine it now. It's vastly different, yet the circumstances are real similar to now, you see. That's why people have a cosmic attachment to the awareness of it. I could feel it rising up out of the ocean, as O'Donovan was singing about it today here in that coyote way, man. You know, it's coming back, see. We were right there on the verge of stepping into the fullness of creation. And somehow the anomaly discreated us through a nuclear holocaust, such as we can't even think of right now. And I don't want to remember too much of it either. I just want to let that one be what it is. And, you know that why I've got the remembrances in this life, and embrace them and say, yeah, we ain't letting it go that way again. See, because we're getting cosmically to that same place. It won't be long at all before you see pinnacles like that rising up, and people like that rising up in them, you see. It'll be a creation of the mother love heart right before your very eyes. There won't be any Halliburton doing the construction or anything. Well, the big guy's out of business, man. When we all discovered that, wow, we're more than a 3D printer. We're a multi-dimensional, multifunctional instrument of creation, and in the hands of the divine heart of love, we can do anything, and we do. And we create it as we want it. So we created this vast nature of ugly and dark experience in order to familiarize ourselves with the light. Yeah, you got that right. We had to carry it through all of that. And many of us have held it for all of us, because you can symbolize your energies, as we see in political and rock star circles and things like that. You can, you know, externalize your energies and symbolize its presence in one person before you. So, you know, some cosmic beings and presences have taken those roles in humanity, and they do it with routine regularity, and carry the energy forward for all of us by being all of us and being present with us in the creation and having the hairiest of experience, you know. Sometimes you feel, though, you know, like you're just a helmsperson. Not a helmsperson, what do you call that thing? A maidenhead, yeah. An emblem at the front end of the ship, you know, and everybody thinks you're guiding and directing the ship, when in reality you're just an attachment to it, and you're just going with the flow of the whole ship as it sails along in the oceans of love, you know. But everybody respects and admires you because you're on the front end of the ship. You're the face of love that plows into the mighty darkness of the grand seas, and through day and night, and wind and weather and hail and sleet and anything else they want to throw at you, baby. You're the fleet-footed one, you know. And, you know, you got the graceful nature of the divine feminine in your expression, and your smiling, baby, is, you know, you feel like a mermaid on the front end of this ship. You're just pure magic. Like this ship, even though it's a creation of artificiality and hard, cold steel, is made out of something even lighter than that. It's makes the mother love real, and allows it to stay alive on the ocean of love, even though by rights it should have sunk long ago, you know. This is one that's sturdier than that because it's full of light. It's lighter than the water, therefore it can't sink, even though it's made out of steel. That's the deal that's real here, man. It's not the heart of love as we imagined it to be. It's the heart of love expressway. Just the way it is, you know. I mean, that's the magic in our lives, see. It's our own light that's kept our heavy old lug of the ship from sinking, you see. like Atlantis did back in those days, as the anomaly bit us on the ass, man. Our little golden asses, as the case may be. See, but along with the cosmic memory of that tragedy comes the memory of the triumphant, you know. You don't let go, man. Those dozen beings still exist. They're right here, right now, in that circle of love, too. Probably even on this radio show, who knows? But that's happening here in this reality. You can feel the energy of it. You can feel the assemblage of it going on, you see. Now back to the 3D, speaking of which... Really, really bright, so bright there ain't no night, just day, 'cause you're there to play as the blossoming flower of life, wouldn't you say? See, Grandpa Coyote got the formula, he got the way, he got the ride, man. If you'll just get up here in the saddle with me and let's ride this pale horse of rock and roll. On with this old Coyote Medicine Show, here on this hazy radio network. Don't you know, the doctor of love with the medicine of the coyote heart that makes life a living working art. Yes, indeed, a working art, man. We work it as we be it, man. See, and working it's what comes naturally to you, man. That's where all the streetwise and the hustle shit comes from, is that working it thing. But below that is the desire to really be working it from the heart. See, you feel restricted in this reality, so you have to be a sly dog about it and work it. You know, yeah, well, work your stuff, babies. Here comes Mother Love, and she doesn't require anything of you other than just you shine a bit, baby, that's all. Just come back to brightness, be the lightness, be the rock star that you are. I remember one time, you know, I had this guy tried to sideswipe me. I was going down the highway and passing him with another 18-wheeler. I don't think he liked me passing him. I wasn't showing off. I was just doing my normal thing, getting down the road, you know, within the legal limits, too, you know, because by then the speed limits are back up to where you can drive 75, and it's no big deal. That's legal, you know, in a lot of places anyway. This was one of them. So I'm hauling ass, man, but I'm passing this guy, and I don't know, he must have been like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He must have been a little grumpy because he started turning his rig into me, you know. And I went right to the edge of the pavement, and I was backing out of it quick. I was going to let him have the highway. I wasn't going to fight him for it. And my trailer wheels slipped a little over the edge, and that goddamn trailer started to go. And I steered out of it real quick and missed him too, and got out of the mess and got on down the highway. But in the process, a whole pallet of Coca-Cola fell over back there in my trailer, you know, and it was a mess. And when I opened the door, when I got to the Coca-Cola delivery place in the morning, I opened the door and I thought, oh, shit. You know, but it happens. I'm a trucker. You know, wow, you should try hauling beer sometime. That stuff just wants to fall on the floor. It wants to be a disaster. You really go gently when you got a load of beer. Well, soda pop, same way. But, you know, thank God we kept from flipping the whole load over, and there's only one pallet, but I didn't tell anybody about that. Of course not. Good trucker keeps his trap shut. I don't know how that happened. Jeez, well, those guys must have unloaded that right, you know. Something like that, you know. Be a hillbilly about it, man. But they have a sense of humor, and they kind of look at you and say, oh, shit. So anyway, long story short, they let me get down there on the loading dock and restack it for them. And they didn't even take an exception for me on that. I think there was only like 3 cases that were unusable. Everything else was cool. It just fell on the floor, that's all. You know, they had pretty good packaging on that shit, so that saved my ass. And I didn't mind doing a little muscle work, but sitting on my ass in that truck 24/7 for like 3-4 days now, that's enough. You know, a little exercise didn't hurt me any at all. And I figured out their palletizing method after they come down and demonstrated it to me real precisely. But once I caught on, I mean, because it's different than everybody else's, of course. But like I said, they were totally cool about it, see. And that's the kind of people I run into at Coca-Cola all the time. So my compliments to your corporation for hanging on to its heart at the loading dock level, man, because you don't see that all over the place in this reality anymore. Not much of it at all. You know, there's hardly any respect left for a truck driver out there now. It's like, we used to be at the bottom of the pile anyway, but now they've heaped it all over the top of them, too. Bus, you think you want to ride in the back of the bus? Hell no, there ain't no bus for you, man. You're a trucker. Get in your truck, get out of here. You know? It's pretty low out there nowadays, man. Where back in my day, we were the white knights of the America's highways, man. People loved us and looked up to us as respectable, partying, crazy fools, but respectable just the same. Most of us, anyway. As always, there's a few a-hoos that's going to ruin the party for everybody if they can. But we had a way of overcoming them back there. Then we were like more in a solidarity, a brotherhood, you know, where we took care not only of each other, but we looked out for the traveling public, too. And occasionally would even help old Smokey out when he was desperate and somebody was really trying to cause some mayhem in the reality. So, you know, we weren't... Nothing was beneath our dignity when it come to, you know, assisting one another, making sure things stayed kind of orderly out there on the highways, man. And so we had a lot of respect, plus we were skilled drivers, all of us, you know. It took some real, gritty experience to get you to such stages back then. Them old truckers had a way of watching over you and getting it into you really quick. But still, you did years to earn this skill, this grit, this ability to survive where others don't, you know, and just keep trucking, man. You know, it's a good thing, and most of the drivers out there had that then, you know, and were really seasoned veterans of the highway, even though a lot of them were really young. They'd had enough already to really get it, you know. Once you get in a groove, it's a Zen thing, babies, but once you get in a groove, you're constantly watching for anything that's going to cause unsafe things or hazardous things to happen, because you have enough of them by then happen to you. You know you got to be ready all the time. Middle of the night, droopy as hell. 3 in the morning, you've been stretching it for 3 days, now hardly any sleep at all. No rest for the wicked, man. And you got to haul ass for 6 more hours. And you got to keep it on the highway and not present a hazard to anybody. And you develop a skill of staying alive. You learn how to do it. And you learn how to respect yourself enough to pull over when you know you can't do it. You're not Superman or Superwoman. You pull over and you nod over the wheel for a little bit. You know, in some place out of the way so Smokey don't see you. You know, well, you try to stay out of the way because you don't want to just do it on the side of the highway. They like to harass you, you know, and they're out there prowling around middle of the late night. Of course they are. It's good revenue, man, you know. They're nothing but revenue agents for the most part. There's a few good-hearted guys out there, but mostly they're scalawags, you know, agents of the overtaxation of the king that works for the queen and all that stuff, who works for the Vatican, and who knows who's behind that. You know, I have hints of all that kind of stuff too, but we'll unravel that mystery some other day when we got a lot more time to do it, eh? What we're unraveling today is the mysterious way of the divine heart as it shows its presence shining in all of our living moments, which is the moment of now. See, that's the sunrise that I speak of inside all the time. Besides being a genuine warm feeling and a re-energizing of our physical presence in a very spiritual way, mystical as all get out, yet it's a uniting of energies, a gathering together into a singular presence of a multiplicity of realities. You see, of deepening our understanding of life to the point where then we live in what we have seen before as higher realities. But we had to have this earthy presence to give it a basis to arise from. Because out of hell always arises paradise. That's its function, to ripen up the hearts of the angels and bring them back to their creative paradise, you know, tempered up just right. And by golly, if that isn't what is happening right now, eh? Right here and now, man, as we continue the rock and roll way of living in our own reality and of loving our heart into its ever-present person of being that it is. You know, just allowing that child, which is very mature inside, by the way, seasoned by, talk about a seasoned veteran. Look at all the life we've lived, and that child's ridden through it. Inside of us every time, man. It never goes away. It just gets in hiding sometimes. You're right. But it's been there, done that. So now the wisdom of the universe is contained in its innocence. That's where it's recorded, you see. That's why a judgment day is non-existent. We've been living in that one for a long time. Now we let it go. See, we realize the nature of our child and the playpen of reality that's been our heart gathering itself back together again, from a shocked presence of separation from our reality to the realization that we've always been in it. We just dimmed our understanding of it down for a while. An eclipse came over the sun, and the stars didn't shine so brightly no more. It was a different world. It had harsh and cold edges. But boy, we see them softening up just right now, don't we? And how? That's the power of love and motion, man. It gets it all in a singular harmonic presence, like the waves on the ocean. Even though they bat around a lot and they foam a lot, etc., and they can become really tall, or they can be disgraceful as all get out. They're always working in the harmonic presence of the liquidity of our love. That's the suggestion of our own truth, how we flow in the motion of an ocean. Compelled along by the spirit winds of the heart, the shining light of the sun which creates that wind that blows through us into creation. It's a warm, soft wind. It's what we found at the end of the rainbow and at the top of the yellow brick trail, baby. It's just old cowgirls and cowboys rode up to the pinnacle peaks of love and finished our job with paradise, man. Got the mechanical works underway, man, and started piecing them back together again. They were Johnny on the spot just in time, even though it's been 1 billion years or so since we felt the presence of that divine this greatly. This is a rock and roll generation, an age of now, and how the transformation of the heart of humanity. Yeah, indeed, baby. Right there inside of you and me, just as these little players that we be, these little tiny sparkly, speckly lives that are just so happy and twinkling like the stars. It feels good to be alive. I mean, I'm starting to see little flashes of rainbow presence all around me, babies, Whew. Wow. And hell, man. The glittering gold light of creation, the Sangre de Cristo, the sacrifice of the heart giving itself away in the desperation to find its own love and fix any anomalies there may have been upon the seas of time that we had messed into, babies. Ooh, yeah, man, we're all the seasoned veterans of the wave of the love and heart that passes now through all of those generations and deepens the understanding of them. So we rise above them and appreciate what's there of it, babies. We're into the fire now, the flame of purifying love, real vision, understanding your presence in this reality. Been a long time coming, ain't it, babies? Well, there it is now, and how, and here we are, man. Completion of another long flight here on the Coyote Medicine Show, getting it just right, don't you know, with Grandpaw Koyote and a whole bunch more, including Obi-Wan Kenobi, my assistant wonder dog, my whiny weenie dog, who accompanies us on our journey of life, my assistant DJ all the way, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh man, the energy of dog, I love him so. Don't you? Yes, indeed. That's Coyote Medicine and even Mo here on the Coyote Medicine Show. You want to join us again tomorrow morning at the beginning of the day, babies. 5 a.m. here in the mountains. 7 a.m. over there on the eastern side of things, there on Turtle Island. And on over across the ocean there, it's around high noon GM.